Hey everyone, how's it going? Decimus here with a new video. I've got a lot of questions about the add-ons I'm using, so I figured I'd just make a quick little video about them. First things first, you can download add-ons for ESO either by going to the ESOUI.com website or by downloading them through the Minion program, which is what I personally use for keeping them up to date. Please note that a lot of the add-ons I'm about to list require additional libraries, which you'll have to download for them to work. If you're missing any, these are probably listed in red color below the add-on in question. So let's start with the combat-oriented ones. Bandits UI. There's a lot that this add-on does, but first thing you'll probably notice are the frames in the middle, which you can customize to your liking in the settings. There's a lot of other add-ons that do the same thing, but the best part about Bandits UI is that there's so much more than just the frames. For instance, you also get a new reticle with this add-on that changes color based on your current combat status. So white reticle means you're out of combat, yellow that you're kinda in combat, and red that you're definitely in combat. This can be very useful as it lets you know when you can go into sneak or mount up, for instance. There's a whole lot of other good stuff with this add-on, such as combat notifications for PvE, buff and debuff bars, more information on character stats window, etc, etc. Each of these features are modular, meaning they can be turned on or off in the settings. Number 2, Srendarr buff and debuff tracker. So while you can track buffs and debuffs with Bandits UI, I find Srendarr to be much better at that since it provides much more customizable options. You can choose where you want to see the buffs and debuffs and which ones you want to track, allowing you to customize this vital information much better than the Bandits UI built-in trackers. Number 3, Action Duration Reminder. This add-on lets you see the duration of skills you have on the back bar and can also give you a pop-up notification when a buff is about to run out, if you enable those in the settings. Bandits UI also has this feature, but I find this add-on to be more precise, so I have it turned off on the Bandits and I use this one instead. Number 4, Miat's cast icon. What this add-on does is that it gives you a cast icon that fills as you use a channeled or cast time ability, which allows you to time your follow-up much more precisely. It also tracks heavy attacks and displays the cast time even if the in-game animations glitch out or aren't visible. You can lock and unlock the icon in the settings and move it where you want. Very useful add-on. Number 5, Miat's CC tracker. Sometimes when there's a lot of effects and AoE is going off, it can be kinda hard to tell if you get CC'd. Or maybe you don't see the CC animation on your character at all due to some visual bug. And that is where this add-on comes in. It really helps speed up CC breaking in some situations and I can highly recommend it. Number 6, Cooldowns. What this add-on does is exactly what you'd expect. Gives you a tracker for the few cooldowns ESO has. This can range from certain item sets you may have equipped to perhaps a synergy cooldown or ulti return passive cooldown. The add-on is very customizable, meaning you can pick and choose what information you want to see displayed and where. Very useful when playing builds with proc sets, for instance. Number 7, Greymind's quickslot bar. This add-on shows you what items you have quickslotted in a little bar that you can move where you want or even hide if you want. But the main reason I'm using this add-on is that it also lets you keybind different quickslot items, meaning that with a click of a button I can swap to a different type of potion, for instance. Very useful on many builds where shuffling potions is a thing. For example, you can change to a death pot when fighting a Nightblade, without having to open up the quickslot wheel, get in-capped and killed before you can switch potions, just as an example. Or fluidly keep switching between armor pots and tripods as a Stamsork, or quickly go for an invis pot on a Maxork and so on and so on. There's a lot of uses for this add-on. Number 8, and these are starting to get quite specific. Bond Armaments counter. This add-on gives you a very cool looking icon that makes it much easier to keep track of your Bond Armament stacks. Very useful if you're playing a Stamsork and using that skill. Number 9, Blood Moon. Again, a very specific add-on. This gives you a special icon that shows you the state of your Blood Moon stacks, should you be using that set. Okay, that's pretty much all the combat related add-ons, and now we're getting into the general quality of life add-ons. Number 10, Fast Ride. This add-on is an absolute must-have in my opinion. Instead of having to manually slot or unslot rapid maneuver every time you mount or dismount, you can just have this add-on do it automatically. This add-on speeds up the gameplay a lot as it lets you always have easy access to the speed buff while mounted and should honestly be a base game feature if you ask me. Yes, you do sometimes get stuck in combat with rapid maneuver on your skill bar, but trust me, this add-on is still worth it and works flawlessly most of the time. Number 11, AlphaGear 2. Another add-on that should be pretty much a base game feature. This addon lets you save different gear and skill setups and switch between them with a click of a button. Needless to say, this addon saves you a lot of time. Number 12. What pledges at my alts? This addon gives you a window where you can track things like current dailies, battleground or dungeon daily cooldowns, how much gold, AP, etc. you have on and on which character. Very useful if you have a lot of alts. Number 13. Destinations. Very nice addon that gives you icons on the map for quest givers, different achievement positions and so on. Number 14. LoreBooks. Similar to destinations, but this one gives you the locations of Mage's Guild and other books, making collecting those much easier. Number 15. SkyShards. You might be noticing a theme here. This addon gives you the location of every SkyShard in the game, making gathering them much easier and faster. Number 16. Combat Metrics. This extremely important addon not just shows you the current DPS you have, but it also lets you analyze your combat, giving you a better idea of where the strengths and weaknesses of your build are. What heals the most, what deals the most damage, is this worth it, and so on. Number 17. Itemization Browser. Lets you browse all the item sets in the game, should you need a reminder of what some set does, or if you need to link the set to a friend but don't have it on you and so on. Very cool addon, and it usually gets updated very fast when a new update is released. Number 18. Kill Counter. Lets you keep track of PvP statistics, everything from kill to death ratio to which player you've killed or died to the most, as well as which skill has dealt the most killing blows and so on. Number 19. PvpMeter. A discontinued addon that still works. Very similar to Kill Counter, except this one gives you statistics on your BG performance and lists played BGs and how many kills and deaths you had in those, and how much damage you took and how much damage you dealt. It also gives you AP and Telvar counters, but you can disable those in the settings if you want. Note that you can find this addon in Minion and have to manually search for it in ESOUA.com. Number 20. pChat. This makes your chat a lot more customizable and lets you copy-paste text from in-game chat, a good addon to have. Number 21. Wykkyd Framework Suite. So there's a lot that this addon does, but pretty much the only feature I use is the toolbar, which you might see on the top of my screen. It displays a lot of useful information, such as the current time, how much gold and AP I have, the FPS and latency. It can also show you time left on crafting research and when you need to feed your horse again and stuff like that. This suite also does get you the Wykkyd Macros addon, which despite the nefarious sounding name doesn't really do anything questionable. What it does is that it gives you a way to use an emote, for example, without having to type it in the chat. All you need to do is select the emote you want and bind it to a key. Can be nice for like role-playing video intros and so on. Alright, next I have a couple of inventory management addons. Number 22, Inventory Insight. When you have a lot of alts, it can get confusing which character has which gear. Sometimes you need to find a set or maybe potions for a new build, but just can't find it and end up relogging like a dozen characters. With this addon, that problem disappears. What Inventory Insight does is that it gives you a box that tracks all the items you have and where they are. Pretty useful, eh? Number 23, Auto Category. So Inventory Insight wasn't enough, your character's inventory is still a mess and it takes ages to find the set you want to equip or the trash items you want to vendor. So what to do? Well, for that we have an addon called Auto Category. This addon lets you sort your items into different categories and customize which ones you want to see first when you open your inventory. Maybe you don't want to scroll down to the bottom to sell stuff after turning in crafting rates. Well, all you have to do is give those kinds of items the highest value in the Auto Category, and they're automatically shown first. Maybe you need to find a certain set. This addon sorts different sets into separate categories and makes it easy for you. In the settings you have free reign to customize how you want your inventory to look like. Alright, so that's all the inventory management stuff. Lastly, I want to go over a few crafting related addons. And number 24 is Dolbugon's Lazy Writ Crafter. If you're into doing crafting writs, which I'd highly recommend as they're one of the best ways of making gold in this game, you absolutely need this addon. What this addon does is that it lets you automatically craft the things you need for your writs when at the crafting stations, massively speeding things up. It also automates turning in the quests and opening all the material boxes you get as rewards, and even provides statistics of how many mats you've got and how much gold you've made if you're interested in those kind of things. Number 25, WritWorthy. While on the topic of writs, you might have noticed all those sealed writs you've been getting. First, you probably wonder if they're worth doing. Well, good for you, this addon lets you know exactly how much gold you spend per voucher gained. Secondly, it greatly speeds up doing those writs as well, as it lets you queue up multiple sealed writs you might have on your inventory, and then crafts them automatically when you visit the crafting station for that writ. Pretty nice. Number 26, Lost Treasure. Not only did you get a lot of sealed writs, but you've also accumulated a lot of surveys from doing all those crafting writs. Now you can manually open up the treasure map and try to remember where to find those surveys, or you can use this addon and automatically get an X on your map where you can find them, as long as you have the survey in inventory. It also gives you the locations for treasure map chests should you be interested in those. Number 27, Potion Maker. So this addon gives you a window where you can select the effects you want your potion or poison to have, and then it automatically gives you the reagent combinations as long as you have the traits researched on that character. Basically it speeds up the crafting of potions and poisons. Number 28, Harvest Map. This addon puts a 3D marker as well as a map marker for every resource node you harvest. Very nice if you like gathering those, but I mostly use it for the chest tracking, as it also puts a map marker for treasure chests. This might sound trivial, but it's actually pretty important when farming for item sets in dungeons, as one of the best ways of getting weapons of these item sets is opening the treasure chests. Number 29, Crafting Stations. Gives you map markers for each crafted set, pretty useful in case you don't know a person who has the crafting stations in their house, or if you want to attune crafting stations for your own house. Number 30, Master Merchant. With this addon you get the average prices for each sellable item you come across. The data is drawn from the sales history of the guilds you're in, so being in a big trading guild is probably a good idea if you want to use this addon. Very useful as it lets you know how much you should sell or buy things for. And lastly, number 30, AwesomeGuildStore. This addon basically gives you a lot more search options in guild stores and categorizes things better than the base game trader UI. I'd highly recommend getting this addon if you do a lot of trading. So that's most of the addons I use currently. I hope you've enjoyed this little video and can find this useful. If you have any questions regarding the addons I use or don't use, feel free to post them in the comment section below and I'll try to answer as promptly as possible. As always, thanks for watching and have a great one. See you next time.